Join us now for a Washington conversation with the top Republican policy planner, Senator Styles Bridges of New Hampshire.
Well, you have been offered several times the Republican minority or majority leadership in the Senate, and they've always refused it. Why, Senator?
I did serve one term, as the minority leader, the Republican leader, and then when the Republicans came into control in 1953, I accepted the president pro tempore of the Senate, and Robert Taft succeeded me as the Republican leader. I prefer to be serve as president pro tempore of the Senate or chairman of the Republican Policy Committee, which I do at the present time.
You, I believe, are famous for getting along well with people with whom you don't agree politically. Isn't that true?
That's right. And as chairman of the Republican Policy Committee, I deal with people in the Republican side of the Senate who have very far divergent views. Yet at the same time, we treat them all alike. The Policy Committee serves a Republican, whether he's a Javits of New York or a Case of New Jersey, the same as he would it does Goldwater.
Senator Bridges, when Speaker Rayburn was on this program 2 or 3 months ago, he gave his estimates and his personal reminiscences of the 8 presidents with whom he'd served. You're the senior Republican in the Senate, and you've served under 4 of them, or with 4 of them. I wonder if you'd give your recollections of those 4 presidents, beginning with Roosevelt.
Well, Roosevelt to me was a very glamorous president. I had not many personal associations with him, except as we advanced to the Second World War, and then on the development of the atomic bomb, Manhattan Project. I was one of the 4 senators who had the secret of knew the secret of the development of the bomb. And I remember very distinctly the first time that I was approached on the idea. I wasn't used to being called to the White House to see Franklin Roosevelt, but I was called down there one day, and he told us the story of what the Germans were attempting to do in atomic energy. Later we went to the office of Secretary Stimson, and from then on, 4 men in the Senate provided the money, $2.5 billion, secreted it in other appropriations. I've often wondered if the atomic bomb had not been a success and had been found afterwards that we had spent $2.5 billion, which most of our colleagues, or all of our colleagues, except these 4, were unaware of, whether we would have been indicted rather than praised as we were when it was a success. Well, I think Roosevelt, as leader of the New Deal, he was very much a social planner, and he did many things which I disagreed with very emphatically. Probably the most important one I disagreed with was the recognition of Communist Russia in 1933. And
you still feel that was a mistake?
I think it, and I think every day proves it to be true. Then we come to Harry Truman. Harry Truman, he understood politics. He could give and take in a political way. Well, you might oppose him very bitterly on the floor, but you'd meet him the next day, and you could be close personal friends. In President Eisenhower, we found a man who I greatly admired, and who it was a pleasure to associate with, and whom I think arrested well for the country the trend of the New Deal and the Fair Deal, which had been established by Roosevelt and Truman, and which I believe went far too far to the direction of the left.
And you were one of the few senators who opposed the Neutrality Act, I believe.
That's a very interesting thing. I can remember 1947 of being in England, and I remember of Winston Churchill at that time telling me, and I think others, that one of the things that gave the green light to Hitler to start World War II, more than any other single thing, was the passage by the American Congress with a recommendation of the President of the United States of a Neutrality Act that, regardless of what went on in the world, whether it was right or wrong, no matter how many tyrants were at large, what had happened, that this country was going to remain aloof, remain neutral, and would not help a nation or a people in distress. And I think that's true. That's one of the reasons I've been very proud of my vote on the Neutrality Act.
Now we come to the present administration. What are your initial impressions of President Kennedy?
Well, I've known Kennedy for many years, served with him in the Senate for 8 years, and he's a neighbor of mine from a neighboring New England state. I know him pretty well. I think Kennedy is on various situations today trying to do a good job. And I think the country, and I personally, would be behind him in anything of a definite nature which he attempts to do to stem the flow of communism and the movement of communism. I disagree with him completely on many of his domestic policies and on some of his foreign policies, but that's only natural in a person of opposite political faiths.
Senator, a number of Republicans have criticized the administration's apparent willingness to entertain a coalition, including communists in Laos. Is the alternative, as the situation there militarily is deteriorating fast, the alternative would appear to be going in ourselves. Are you in favor of that, or?
No, I don't believe that I would favor, at this time, going into Laos 10,000 miles from our shores, that they would have to be supplied by boat before across 10,000 miles of ocean and then by air. I am hopeful something can be worked out whereby that without a coalition government, why that Laos could be saved, at least as a truly neutral nation. But it may not work out that way, and I think we ought to think very seriously whether we should go in with American troops. May I say, however, that I'm for taking a firm position against communism. But I'd like to pick my position so that we wouldn't be mired down in another disastrous situation, or in a situation that would dissipate our resources and kill our American boys wholesale for no apparent good.